Have you ever been out somewhere and you're hearing a song or a track that you've never heard before, but you know exactly who the artist or producer is? I think a lot of the best artists in the world have a really distinct sound that you can really pick out easily. And a lot of them spent years refining and perfecting that sound. But I always wonder if they were trying to have a sound or not. In some cases, I think artists tend to stick with one thing that they do really well and they just keep doing it over and over and over again till they're the best in the world at it. But maybe other artists aren't really trying to go for a certain sound and they're trying to expand their musical palette, but they just end up with a certain sound anyways because they are who they are. I do, in a lot of ways, love the thought of artists having their own sound and nobody else in the world being able to recreate that sound. Especially with all this AI music stuff on the horizon, it seems nice to have something to hold on to. And the thought of AI music not being able to ever create a track that truly sounds like me or somebody else is a little relieving. But at the same time, I wonder how I can control my sound and change my sound. And maybe the process of me trying to change my sound is actually me just developing my sound even more. But the idea of trying to change your sound isn't really simple or easy. It takes years to really truly master a certain style of music or a certain style of music production. But you know what? I don't really care. I want to branch out to other styles of music and other ways to produce music, even if that only ends up changing the music that I was already creating in some way. I still feel like there's a lot of value in that process of trying new things that can impact your own style. And even if it only ends up changing my style by a little bit, it's still very much worth it to me. All right, all that was essentially just to say that I'm going to try something slightly new today. I figured I'll just take a technique that I've been using a lot lately and I'll switch it up and I'll try something slightly different. And one of the things I've been doing a lot lately is sampling. I've been taking samples, putting them on my SP-404 and chopping them up and creating beats. So I'll do that process, but slightly different today. Most of the time I've just been taking samples and chopping them right on the beat and mixing around the beats and seeing what happens. But today I want to mix up the chops a little bit. I don't want to get them off beat. I want to change the speed of what's going on. I want to change the pitch of what's going on. And I want to just try to create something new that I've never really done before. I'm going to go grab a sample and we'll hop over to the SP-404. So I've got a really nice soul sample loaded up here and I'm going to change the pitch and speed on it. That sounds pretty good. Let's go a little lower. Ooh, I think that's it. Yeah, that sounds nice. So let's go into chop mode. And instead of trying to chop right on the beats, I'm going to try to chop at interesting points. I'm thinking where there's a chord or where there's a cool little melodic line or something like that. So let's just give it a shot and see what happens. And then before I even assign them to pads, I'm just going to play around with them and see what they sound like. So some of these sound really cool, like those last four, but I want to make sure that each pad has a bit of a hit on it, whether it's a chord or something. I just want something happening right when I hit the pad. And there were a couple of them where it just felt like nothing was happening when I was hitting the pad. Yeah, like this one. It doesn't feel like anything's really happening when I'm hitting the pad, so I'm going to move that mark around a little bit. That sounds cooler. Those all sound really good to me, so let's go ahead and assign them to pads. And we'll go over to a new bank. And chop them up. Then I got to put them in a mute group so they don't overlap each other. The other thing I want to do now is I want to put a little envelope on the beginning of all of them, because some of them have a little bit of a click or a pop right at the beginning. And at the end there too, so I want to make sure I get just a little bit of an envelope on all of them. So when I go to envelope, if I hold remain, it'll apply the envelope to every sample in the bank. And I should just need that one, and that should take care of that little click or pop right at the beginning of the pads. Cool. Those sound really clean and nice now. So now I'm just going to play around a bit and see if I can land on some type of groove or chord progression or something that feels natural that's not in the original tempo. So there's one thing I feel like I'm missing, and that's I want that first chord on a pad that's right at the beginning of the pad. So instead of those two notes, I want that second note right at the beginning of a pad. And I think I'll change this first pad to be right at the beginning there. There we go. So I actually went and just re-chopped the sample. I didn't love the original chops, and I just wanted to try something different. And I'm liking this chop a lot more, and I landed on a pattern I think sounds pretty cool. It's something like this. So now that I have an idea of the tempo, I'm just going to get it into the tap tempo so it's in the project so I know about where I am. So I'm at about 96, and I was actually on the bank by accident. I wanted to be on the project, so I'll just go over to there and change that to 96. Cool. So now let's go ahead and pull up a drum sample. We'll go into import. And I'm embarrassed to say that my samples are not organized. At some point, I will go through and put them in individual folders, but right now it's just a ton of samples in one gigantic folder. So I'm just going to scroll through and look for a drum sample. I think that should work. That sounds pretty good. Let's import that. And now let's try using BPM sync to get this up to the project tempo. So I know the hold remain, I can see it says 75 in the sample, so I will go ahead and set the tempo manually to 75 here. And then I should be able to hit BPM sync and it'll bring it automatically up to 96. Yep, there we go. That sounds pretty cool. That might actually work at that pitch. If I want, I could pitch it down. If I switch over to... Yeah, let's do backing. Yeah, that's at the original pitch. I think it could work at that higher pitch, though. I'm going to go back to vinyl mode and just let it live at that higher pitch. Yeah, that could be cool. Cool, let's go hop over to pattern mode and record a new pattern. Let's do 4 bars. And since I'm just doing that drum loop right on the downbeat, I just want to quantize it all the way and just hit it once. And I'm also in fixed velocity mode, by the way. That's important for this. And that looped perfectly. Nice. Now we can just hop back over to the original chop and play around and make sure that tempo feels right and it fits well. That sounds pretty good just like that. I'm going to go ahead and record the samples into the pattern, and then I think I'm going to adjust the speed on some of them. Like I think on this one, there was a note that's coming in a little early, that second note. So I'll probably slow that pad down a little bit and maybe do some other little adjustments, but let's go ahead and record it into the pattern and see what it sounds like. And then for this, I know these chops are going to be a little bit off grid, so I want to make sure I turn the quantize off on that. So yeah, I'm hearing that pad is a little fast on that second note. I want to stretch that pad out a little bit and make that note longer. So I want to slow the speed down a bit, but I need to keep the pitch there, so I have to change out of vinyl mode. So I'll hold shift. And usually for a sample that's a whole track like this, this ensemble mode works pretty well. There we go. That sounds right. Let's see what that sounds like in the pattern now. That sounds really nice. I do want to play with the pitch of the drum sample just a little bit. I want to try turning it back down and see if it sits a little bit better. I think that sounds right to me. Yeah, that sounds cool. So I went ahead and grabbed my little Mustang bass. I don't know why, for some reason this always sounds really good, just plugged directly into the SP-404. And I'm gonna play a bass line, see if I can find something that sounds cool. The one thing I'm gonna do is make sure I have this input setting set to external in. By default, I think it's set to the other one. Yeah, mix. So external in means that I can use the mark button to use the skip back feature, and it'll only grab the bass line and not the rest of the audio. So I'll basically just be able to jam along, and when I feel like I played something cool, I'll hit mark and grab it, as opposed to having to hit record and play it exactly perfectly. I think that sounded pretty good, so I'll just go ahead and hit mark, and then I'll just grab the bass line from here. And then I'll just save it to a pad. Cool, so now let's go ahead and chop up one of those bass lines, see what we can do with it. And then I'm just going to make sure that each one of those hits right at the beginning of a transient. And now we'll go ahead and assign those to some pads. And then from here, oh, I need to turn gate on for all of them. So I can do shift gate to turn on gate for all of them. So now they play all the way through. I'm going to put them in a mute group too, even though I don't think I'm going to actually end up playing any of them over each other, but I could maybe if I'm jamming around and I find something that sounds cool. I just want to mess around and see what happens. And then I want to go ahead and do an envelope on all of them as well. So hold remain while I do just a little envelope on all of them. Just to help get rid of the little pops and clicks. Cool. Those sound pretty good. Let's play them with the pattern now. I think those will be pretty good. Couple little things I want to change is, I think there's a little gap at the beginning of that one. Let me check. Yeah. Cool. And then when I go ahead and record them, I'll check if I need to change the speed of them at all just to make them line up a little bit better. But let's go ahead and record those in. And I will use quantize here because I want them to hit right at the beginning of the beat. And yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Those actually sound pretty good just like that, so I'm actually not going to mess with them too much right now. I might tweak them just a little bit here and there later, but for now I'm just going to leave them like that. And what I really want to do right now is get some effects going on the 3rd and 4th bus just to help give the track a vibe. So I'll go ahead and play the pattern, and then I'll do Shift 16 to hop into the effects, and I'm going to dial in some effects on the 3rd and 4th bus. That cassette sim sounds pretty good. I might have to dial it back a bit, but that might work. Let's try editing that cassette sim a little bit, see if we can get it to sound a little less muddy. I think that's just too muddy sounding overall. I want to keep some cleanness to the track. So let's go back to the favorites here and just scroll back over to that vinyl one. I think the vinyl one might have worked pretty well. Yeah, but again, let's edit this vinyl one and see if we can get it a little less muddy sounding. There we go. That sounds pretty cool. That's kind of a vibe already. I'm kind of digging that. Just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and bounce that pattern to a pad and just mess around with it, see if I can do anything fun with it. And the way I can do that is by copying the pattern. And instead of copying it to another pattern, I just hit pattern select. And now I'm copying it to a sample instead of a pattern. And then one of my favorite things to do is just go back into the pitch and speed menu and use the vinyl mode and just probably slow it down. It's a little bit of an upbeat track, so I'm going to slow it down a bit, see if it sounds cool. Oh. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool too. Just for fun, let's turn up the pitch and speed. I'm sure it's not going to sound cool, but I'm just curious. That sounds awful. Just for fun, let's go even lower and see what it sounds like. It's a little muddy, but it's kind of a vibe. Let's keep going. All right, the down 2 half steps was the play there. Yeah. So at some point I'll add some vocal samples to that, but that's sounding pretty cool just as it is. So hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time.